Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Weekend Wellness Workshop. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you today, talking about how you can take charge of your health and make yourself a completely healthy person, and do so without the need for drugs or very harmful medications. I've been doing this work for some 20 years here in Western Pennsylvania. Enjoy the opportunity of sharing with you much of what I've learned over that time frame. And as time moves on, give you an opportunity to come in and let you share with all of us where you may be in your own particular health issues and how it may be that we can help get you turned around also. I've been with you for an entire month. This is our 5th show, and I've been bringing to you short topics. I consider them to be primer items, starting items, and wherever I'm working with patients, there's always a beginning. There's a middle, and infrequently there is an end. But the treatments that we were starting with back in our second show was something that I referred to as the treatment triad. There were 3 common, very potent legs of a 3-legged stool, and it's in that 3-legged approach to treating that I begin almost with every patient for no matter what I have to be seeing them with. Now, just to refresh your memory, the 3 legs of that stool were to determine what your deficiency states were and are, and of course correct them, to find out what your toxicities have become, and rid the body burden of whatever toxicities you may have accrued over a lifetime. And then the third, and I think rather unique component, which is high up on the list, and the one that's usually forgotten by most, is to improve and optimize your perfusion to every organ you own. I say to find every crook and cranny in your body. The more blood flow that you can get going to each and every one of these areas, the better that organ or that tissue or that region of the body will work. Put them all together, and you're well on your way of getting control and taking charge of your own health issues. Now, today we're going to be talking about 2 of the 3. I'm not talking too much about perfusion today, but these first 2, the deficiency states and the toxicity states, I think I've already let you know it'd be very difficult to find a alternative practitioner anywhere in the country that doesn't focus on these 2. But I will tell you, I think we do it rather uniquely here. And in particular, I want to deal with the minerals today. Minerals are extremely important in all of your metabolic processes. There are minerals that play a role as a catalyst in the bulk of these metabolic processes. And if you do not have them in the right amount, there is going to be a delay or a shortcutting of the metabolic pathway in order to make the pathway function less efficient than it would if the original mineral was available. Now, on the other end of the extreme, there are certain minerals, heavy metals, that you accumulate in such large amounts that finally these metals gunk up the process and don't allow tissue that may be getting the right nutrient supply, but the tissue can't function right because it's being influenced by some pretty toxic substances that interfere with the proper metabolism that goes on in that region. So, getting to the bottom of deficiencies and toxicities is a great place to start with the patient, and it's a great place to start with you as listeners on how we can accomplish this goal by doing it at home. You don't require, as I have to even admit myself, I think that I've been using some pretty sophisticated testing for a long time, and some harsh chemical substances, and I'll talk to you about those, and I'm not too happy about the fact that I've used them. But boy, within the last 6 months to a year, a unique way of dealing with deficiencies and toxicities has come my way, though I just felt it was time to share it with you. So, we have a way of utilizing your taste buds, your ability to taste, to let us know whether or not you have a deficiency or whether you have a toxicity with any one of a number of metals. In fact, there are 9 metals, 9 minerals that are absolutely vital to your body functioning. I will give you the entire list of 9. We'll work through them, but they're so important that they must be tested for. And if you are inadequate at any one of these 9 or multiples of them, you really do need to replace those minerals to get the metabolic activities back to full functioning again. Now, how you test for these is quite interesting. There are sophisticated tests that can be done. There are hair analysis that can be done. There are provocation tests that can be done, run by specific labs. But this new natural approach to correcting minerals, I believe, is head over heels more accurate than any of those tests and can be done at home just by you. How's it work? Well, we are going to use a kit that has mineral testing vials and actual mineral treatment vials. So there are 8 vials in the kit, so we're automatically missing one of the minerals because I said there were 9 minerals that we have to replace. So why is it that we don't test for one of the 9? And as it turns out, we should be talking about that mineral first because that's an extremely important mineral, especially if you are from Western Pennsylvania, because you were born in the middle of something referred to as the goiter belt. You ever hear the term before? Goiter belt. Now, I'm not saying garter belt. I am saying goiter belt. And as you know, these goiters are very prominent hypertrophies of the thyroid gland when the thyroid is stimulated by the pituitary but putting out a hormone that just isn't functional. The gland can grow to considerable sizes. Now, why it is that we are in the goiter belt here in Western Pennsylvania happens to do with a geological phenomenon that occurred over the span of time. Let's go back to millions of years ago when the glaciers melted and the land masses formed. So our mountain ranges formed and the Allegheny and Monongahela and the confluence and the High, that all came about over time. But something odd happened geologically here that happened no place else in the world. And what that was is we got washed out of all iodine in our soil. We have no iodine in the soil whatsoever. And so consequently, the prime source that's supposed to provide you with the iodine that you need was never available to you as a Western Pennsylvania inhabitant and not available to you today. Now, why is that such a big deal? Well, it's a really big deal because the thyroid gland is a gland that has to have massive amounts of iodine available to it. You see, your thyroid gland makes a substance called tyrosine, and tyrosine is a complete biological dud. It's only when tyrosine has 4 molecules of iodine put on it that it can begin to even work in your behalf. And so iodine is an automatic. We don't have to test for it because you are from Western Pennsylvania. You have 0 iodine. You never have had the right amount of iodine. Consequently, you must replace it. I say 50 milligrams a day. So without testing for it, you'll be on the 50 milligrams for a greater part of the year to fill your iodine tank up. Now let's move through the other minerals. The first on my list of the listed minerals is potassium. Another one is zinc. Another one is magnesium. Yet another is copper, then chromium, then manganese, then molybdenum. I know it's a funny sounding one. And then finally selenium. These 8 minerals must be tested for. And so in the testing kit, there are a series of 8 testing vials that you pour a small amount into a small cup. It almost looks like a small shot glass, if you know what I mean. And you taste it and then tell me and tell yourself what you taste. There are 7 possible scores that you can give this tasting test. A score of 1 means it was sweet to the taste. A score of 2 means it was pleasant to the taste. Number 3 means there was no taste at all. 4 is taste something. 5 is so-so. 6 is I don't like it, and 7 is pretty bad. 7 different testings. And you are going to record how you rate every one of the 8 minerals, forgetting the iodine now, because none of you have any iodine. And then you're going to score it and put it in a little box that's next to, in an open box next to the actual mineral itself, written on a piece of paper that is either provided to you in the kit or that you make yourself. Now, to describe what's going on here, I'm going to describe the phenomena that many of you face in your own backyard, because this is Western Pennsylvania. Many of you have deer that are eating in your backyard, and you know how those deer go to a certain bush and gnaw on that bush? They're eating off of that bush because the stuff tastes good and is sweet tasting to the animal. That's why that bush will never survive with that particular deer, because the deer is tasting what it needs. In the animal population, they don't have little white hats with Italian cuisines and do spot urine checks with hair analysis. Their body talks to the animal and they respond, and so they'll go to a bush in your yard that's sweet because they need the items found within the nutritive components of that bush. And there'll be other bushes in your yard that you won't ever get the deer to walk toward at all because that stuff tastes terrible. So now you see what's getting set up here. You as an animal have never lost your ability to have your body talk to you. And so by testing for every single one of these minerals, you'll be able to determine where you stand with each of them. Now, I got to tell you that it's more than highly likely that the majority of you have no taste to just about every one of these metals. Every time I do this testing, it's rare to find people that respond in either direction, either very sweet or pretty bad. Most of the time they say, I got no taste. And no taste is a score of a 3. And I find that 3s and 4s are usually the scores that I'm hearing. Remember, 1 is sweet, 2 is pleasant, 3 is no taste, 4 is something, some taste, 5 is so-so, 6 don't like, and 7 is pretty bad. And when you get through them all, you now have a list of where you stand on day 1, and you are ready to start treating. And so you use the treatment vials now, a second set of vials, and mix up mineral drink throughout the day, twice a day, and continue to take these minerals while testing yourself each and every week as time moves on. What's going to happen is that the mineral will go from wherever you started. Eventually, it will get to a level of where you're tasting something, and finally, you'll reach the threshold of the score you want to get to, which is 5, because once you've reached a 5, you already have enough of that mineral that you don't need to take it anymore. So the construct is there for you in an unsophisticated way, yet highly sophisticated way, to treat all of your mineral deficiencies and do so in a way that allows you to, with precision, correct all of those deficiencies, never do a blood test, never do a hair analysis, never do any sophisticated testing, but I believe the testing with the tasting is as accurate, if not even more accurate, than any of the scientific testing ever could be. Now, this is the first half of the testing, and we're going to take a break, and when we come back from the break, we're going to cut to a little segment we do with Dr. Edward Kondrot on his French walk, and then we'll come back to the second part of the testing in that final 15-minute segment where we tell you how we're going to deal with the heavy metal side after having already been dealing with the mineral deficiency side. Our discussion today is deficiencies and toxicities and how to correct them at home in a very sophisticated way, and we'll continue that discussion a little later on in the hour. First half of it's done, second half yet to come. We're going to take a short break, and after the break, be introducing you to a good friend of ours, Dr. Edward Kondrot, live from France. He'll tell you all about it. Be right back. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to the Weekend Wellness Workshop. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney today, having a discussion about many things. One in particular always gets special attention around here. It happens to do with your eyes. Now, I know I keep telling you we are known as the Pittsburgh Eye Protocol, and we're the northern affiliate of a very well-known entity known as the Healing the Eye and Wellness Center, headed up by Chief Ophthalmologist Dr. Edward Kondrot. Now, you'll be hearing a lot about the Dr. Kondrot programs in the future, but we have a special event going on right now in the country of France. We have Dr. Edward Kondrot, who can spend a few moments with us as he walks on what's called the Camino Le Puy. I'll let him talk about why he's doing it, where he's doing it, and when he's going to return. And let's say good morning and welcome. Dr. Ed, thanks for coming aboard today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Courtney. And right now I'm in the city of France called Conques, and that's Conque. And this city reminds me of Mount Washington. Believe it or not, this city has been built on a hill, actually on a cliff. This is a very, very difficult pilgrimage. In fact, a French lady told me if it was easy, it wouldn't be a pilgrimage.
It wouldn't be a pilgrimage.
We left Le Puy, that was 12 days ago, and we've covered about 400 miles. So we've covered 100 miles. We're 1/4 of our way done. And to give the Pittsburgh natives an idea what this pilgrimage is like, it's like climbing up Sycamore Avenue 10 times and then ending by climbing up Banksville Road. That's what it's like.
Well, you know, ladies and gentlemen, the Pittsburgh references abound because Dr. Edward Kondrot is a Pittsburgh boy, born and raised, as well as a very well-known practitioner here in the Mount Lebanon community for years. But 15, 16 years ago, he chucked it all in and took off for Phoenix, Arizona, where he developed the most unique eye treatment programs. Well, we're just so proud to be a part of them. And he's with us today because part of the reason why he's on this pilgrimage in France is to promote the awareness of glaucoma. Ed, tell us about what that's all about.
Well, last year we did the Camino de Santiago for the awareness of macular degeneration. It was so successful, my wife and I decided to do the Camino Le Puy to raise awareness for glaucoma. And the listeners can go to our blog. It's Kondrot Camino, Kondrot Camino, CAMINO.com. And we have wonderful photographs of churches and people we've met around the way. But we are raising awareness for glaucoma, and I think the Pittsburgh natives are very fortunate because you are doing a phenomenal job administering this program in Pittsburgh. In fact, I looked at your statistics, and your statistics are unparalleled compared to the other 20 doctors that are doing the program throughout over the country. And so if any of the listeners do have an eye problem and you're not satisfied with traditional Western medicine, surgery, or injections, Dr. Courtney is the man you need to see.
Well, thank you, Ed. And it's by the very nature of the fact that you put these programs together and then taught us so well on how to do them that although you're involved with each and every program and each and every patient, here in the Pittsburgh area, we do these programs once a month. So as I mentioned many times to my listeners already, I'll keep you apprised of when the next programs are. In fact, we have one coming up September 21st, 24th. Glaucoma is just one of many of the retinal diseases that you've done such a great job on developing a rapid turnaround and restoration of vision that I'm sure if you suffer from the disease and other diseases like macular degeneration or diabetic retinopathy, these are some of the bigger ones, you'll absolutely want to find out more at PittsburghEyeProtocol.com. So Ed, how's the walk going? Are you spreading awareness of the treatment of glaucoma out there in the hillsides of France?
Well, it's interesting. We had a blessing at the chapel at Le Puy, and it's a tradition that each pilgrim picks up petitions in the chapel at Le Puy and carries those petitions and will read them every day along the way. Now, I can't understand French or read French. So what I decided is I asked all of my patients, if you have a petition or prayer you'd like for me to read every day on the Camino, email me the petition, and I promise I'll read them every day. I have about 70 petitions, and every night before I go to bed, I read each one of them. This is a very sacred pilgrimage. Miracles happen every day on the Camino. So email me at Dr Kondrot at healingtheeye.com, and I promise you I'll read your petition.
Ed, let me ask you this. What is at the end of the road? So you're on this pilgrimage. It started in a place called Le Puy, and you're on something called the Camino Le Puy. What is the idea? Where's it going? What's at the other end of the road, Ed?
Well, we're ending at Saint-Jean, which is the base of the Pyrenees, and it's actually the start of the Camino de Santiago, which is a 500-mile pilgrimage. So my wife and I did the Camino Santiago last year, which was 500 miles. And this year we're doing the French section. But the tradition is that Europeans walk from all over the country. We met a couple people that left Austria and are traveling over the country of France, and then the entire country of Spain, maybe a 1,000-mile journey to get to the chapel of St. James. So it's an amazing pilgrimage. Every couple kilometers you see a cross, you see a sacred statue. I mean, pilgrims have been doing this for thousands of years, and it's just amazing. I mean, I get goosebumps every day getting up and walking this sacred pilgrimage. And one thing that I have observed is miracles do happen every day. When you walk the Camino, every day you experience a miracle. It's just a very, very spiritual journey.
How many days total is this particular trip going to take for you and your wife?
Well, this is much tougher than the Camino de Santiago. I did not realize. I thought southern France was going to be flat. But it makes the hills in Pittsburgh look junior varsity.
I'll bet.
Every day we're climbing up and up. We left on August the 14th, and we plan to finish on September the 24th. So it's about a month and a half.
Wow.
And we're enjoying every minute of it. That's wonderful, wonderful people. Unfortunately, my wife speaks fluent French. And probably 95% of the pilgrims are from France. We met people from Germany, Norway, Austria, but no one from the United States. I think we're the only pilgrims we met so far from the United States.
And you say if you do the whole thing, it ends at the Chapel of St. James. What is the Chapel of St. James?
Well, St. James, there are two apostles where the remnants or bones have been verified. One is St. Peter, and that is he's entombed in the Vatican. St. James is another apostle, and he's entombed at the Chapel of St. James in Santiago. For over 1,000 years, pilgrims have made that trip to St. James for spiritual assistance and guidance. There's another pilgrimage which goes to Rome, and Lee and I, my wife and I, have been talking about doing that next year. It's the Canterbury pilgrimage. You start in Canterbury in the United Kingdom, and then you end up in Rome, which is about a 2,000-mile pilgrimage. So we're thinking about doing that.
Well, of course, we wish you a speedy trip, and I don't know how greater than a month can ever be speedy, but you trek along at that. What's like a daily goal? How many miles a day, or I guess you say kilometers? Are you able to sort of do back to back?
Well, we're trying to do between 20 and 30 kilometers. So 20 kilometers is 12 miles, and 30 kilometers is 18. But, you know, the pilgrims, it's a different attitude. It's not so much about distance. Like, every step you take is a step not only in the right direction, but they say it's a step in your own spiritual involvement or evolution. So each step that you take is a step in that right direction. So one thing that my life has changed, I'm not thinking about, the end. I'm not thinking about getting to Saint-Jean at the base of the Pyrenees. All I'm thinking about is, making it at the end of the day and finding a place to stay and having a meal. So right now we're staying in a wonderful monastery, very, very Spartan rooms, which is run by monks, and this is in the village of Conques.
Conques.
So the listeners may want to Google that, Conques. And it's just an amazing historical village here that has so much charm and spirituality.
Now, you're over there to establish an awareness of glaucoma, and I just couldn't let this little interview go by without giving you an opportunity. You came up with a way to literally reverse glaucoma in a pretty rapid way. What can you say about that amazing treatment program you put together and that we now pursue on a monthly basis to take our American listeners and get them interested in their own glaucoma awareness?
Well, glaucoma is a very, very tough disease to treat. And unfortunately, Western ophthalmology just looks at one side of the equation. They're trying to lower the pressure, but they're not really looking at the end organ, which is the optic nerve. And most integrative doctors like yourself, Dr. Courtney, understand that in order to revitalize any organ, you need to improve the circulation, you need to remove heavy metals, you need to detoxify the body, and that's something that you do very well with chelation, detoxification, and different therapies to improve circulation. And when you combine that with microcurrent, which is well documented to improve circulation and improve cellular activity, it can be really magical in some people with glaucoma. And I don't want the listeners that have glaucoma to think they should stop their eye drops, because those people with glaucoma, they need to continue taking their eye drops, but we focus on the other end of the equation, improving the health of the optic nerve, improving the health of the retina. And that's where the program works out so well. And you're doing a phenomenal job, because I've looked at your data, and the people that you're treating, you are lowering their intraocular pressure, and you are expanding their visual fields, and you're improving their visual acuity, which is remarkable. And these have been people that have been told, nothing can be done. You've lost your vision. It can't be reversed, but things can be done. And these therapies are amazing for improving vision.
Well, let's just say that we bid you a fond adieu today, and safety along your journey. You will be returning back to the United States in not too distant future, and at some point, we want to have Pittsburgh have a chance to meet their favorite son. Promise to come to Pittsburgh. Promise to come back on the radio show on your return, and then let's set something up for the fall where you come to Pittsburgh and have Pittsburghers meet you and have a chance to learn more about your very intriguing and quite unique eye programs that we are fortunate enough to offer every month here. And maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to help them get their vision turned around. What do you think, Dr. Ed?
And I'd really enjoy that, and, have your listeners send me their prayers and petitions, and I promise I'll read them on the Camino. This is a very, very sacred pilgrimage, and miracles do happen. And, just be optimistic and plan for a miracle. Your vision can be restored.
Okay, rest up. Have a pleasant evening tonight at the monastery. Good luck on tomorrow's journey. I'll be talking to you soon, Dr. Ed. Thanks for coming aboard today. Farewell, my friend. We're going to take a short break. Be right back in a moment. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Weekend Wellness Workshop. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you today on a Saturday morning discussing, a lot of things. You had a chance to hear the first part of our show talking about the treatment triad, and in particular, how to correct deficiencies that you have accrued over many, many years, in particular talking about mineral deficiencies and a way that you can do some very sophisticated testing in your own home. We took a break for the news and had an opportunity to allow you to meet Dr. Edward Kondrot, and just so enjoyable to connect with him. He does these pilgrimages, as you have learned, with some pretty high integrity as well as motivation. Of course, this particular one to make glaucoma, for the awareness of glaucoma. So we're going to finish our discussion now talking about how to take the first half of this and finish it up by correcting the toxicity side of the equation. So you've corrected your metals in however amount of time it took to do it. You have now acquired a score of 5, which is a so-so taste with all 8 of the minerals. And what has happened in this time frame is this. There's a substance in the body known as metallothionein. And it's as heavy a medical concept as I'm going to go. I'm just mentioning the name. It's called metallothionein. Metallothionein acts as the substance that transports minerals. That's its job. It moves minerals throughout the entire body and does so quite effectively and quite efficiently. Now, there's a receptor site on the metallothionein molecule so that the mineral can occupy that site. What has happened in our cases, and your case, is because you didn't have the mineral for quite a long time, the site where the mineral is supposed to occupy on the metallothionein got occupied by something else. So instead of, for instance, potassium or zinc hooking on to the place on the metallothionein it should have, it was open, it was empty, and something else hooked on to it. Now, what hooked onto it was a heavy metal. These are the toxic metals. And in particular, probably the 4 largest I see in the patients that I treat would be lead and mercury and cadmium and aluminum. And they would be followed by other ones that are much more rare, but nonetheless still possibly a heavy metal that could latch onto that receptor site. So, the second half of this unique approach to dealing with metals is not only are you going to correct your deficiencies, 8 different minerals will ultimately get brought to the right ranges and the healthy ranges. What's going to happen is the mineral is finally going to be available in such high quantities that it's going to want to reoccupy the site that it should have been on for all this time and wasn't. And it will knock off the heavy metal from that receptor site and occupy the correct receptor site that it should have been occupying for years but did not. So, in a way, not in a way, actually, with complete clarity, you are going to chelate off. You're going to remove all of your heavy metals by making sure that your body has received all the right minerals or metals. And when it's finally said and done, you will have achieved 2 goals. You no longer have deficiencies of minerals, and you have no longer heavy metal toxicities on the toxic side, and you have unburdened tissue to allow that tissue to work in an optimal fashion. Now, folks, I got to tell you that this is such a unique and welcome add-on to my practice, because for years I was pretty much in a bit of a dilemma. I didn't realize it at the time, but here I was claiming to be a medical doctor that doesn't use drugs, and I don't. I have a prescription pad that collects dust, and it does. And so I would be working out ways to treat people probably by not using my prescription pad. However, when it came to chelating or removing heavy metals, I used some of the strongest, harshest, and potentially harmful substances known to medicine. Things like DMPS, things like DMSA, things like penicillamine, things like EDTA. These were all used by me because I thought to remove the heavy metals, I had no other choice other than to use them. But it was a bit hypocritical because on the one hand, I'm claiming I don't use drugs, but when it suited me, I certainly did use pharmaceuticals and used them to such an extent to get a benefit that when we were finally done was okay. But what about getting to the place of being done and having accomplished the goal and objective? So, at this point, I'm completely content with myself. I've now atoned for my sins, and I say that by using the approach that I've just described to you, we are proceeding with a phenomenon that I've named natural chelation. That you no longer have to use heavy metals any longer, chelating agents to remove heavy metals any longer, that by supplying the right minerals to occupy the appropriate sites on the receptors for metallothionein, you will rid yourself of the heavy metals. And so, without having used anything harsh and harmful at all, you're able to accomplish the objectives over time. It'll take some time, but you will accomplish it, and you'll do so completely safe without any need to be concerned about the toxicity of the various substances you're using to try to correct the problem. So, folks, I hope you enjoyed hearing about natural chelation today. You can either A, call up, check their office, make an appointment to see me, and we'll do your testing right here and have the ability to drop ship the kits to your house so you can pick up where we left off. Or if you think you'd like to just do it, call us. We'll be able to drop ship the kits with a complete explanation, a very clear explanation of how you do this testing and how you do these corrections at home and get as equally good results with or without my involvement from the beginning. So learning about natural chelation today gives you that option to comply with my original intention, which was to put you in charge of your health and get you to optimal health in a way that you really haven't been able to do before. So I thought I'd enjoy sharing with you the natural chelation that very difficult to find, easily enough accomplished, and look forward to moving you down the road to greater health as time moves on. So I want to thank you for listening to the show today. Hope you enjoyed learning about natural chelation, and look forward to seeing you next weekend. So until then, this is Dr. Dennis Courtney saying so long for the Weekend Wellness Workshop. Look forward to being with you once again next weekend. Bye now.